Welcome everyone to tonight's masterclass all about seasonal wellness. Now, we had actually planned to do this evening's masterclass about seasonal wellness because, of course, we're almost at the bridge of the seasons, moving into winter. And then we found out about a week ago that doTERRA, who's one of the brands that we partner with was releasing a wellness box, a seasonal wellness box this week as well. So we have tied this evening's presentation into that. And so we'll be focusing on teaching you exactly how you can use the seasonal supports in that. So seasonal wellness. So question, do you feel more tired, foggy, flat, or less resilient as winter sets in? When the colder months are hit, they can impact lots of things, and it's not just colds and flus. Mood, energy, focus. When we have less sunlight, less movement, more time indoors, and more illness stacks up. So the question is that just life, or is that actually something happening biologically in our bodies with the season that means that we need a bit more support? So in this class, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening to our body during winter and how we can support it. Why we get sicker, more tired, and emotionally flat in winter. The 5 pillars of winter wellness: stress, sleep, focus, immunity, and metabolism. How you can support them with essential oils, which is one of our favorite plant-based natural medicine supports. Some simple DIY recipes for you to screenshot and take away, and then how you can access your own seasonal wellness box of supports. So it's not just about colds and flus, although that does play a big part in what goes wrong in winter. But we see a consistent pattern across lots of different areas of health, and it's not just specifically the immune system. Mood, energy, resilience, focus, metabolism, even weight all tend to go downhill. And when I'm talking about weight, I mean that one goes uphill all at the same time. And this isn't random because it reflects a real shift in how our body functions under winter conditions and our lesser ability to cope with various things. So over winter, in most parts of the world, in particular in New Zealand and Australia, but in most parts of the world, we get less sunlight. And so this disrupts our circadian rhythm and our vitamin D levels. We also spend a lot more time indoors. We don't necessarily always have as much opportunity to go out and go for an early morning walk because it might be too cold. I know that I've spent time down in Arrowtown over winter, and I tell you what, getting up at 7 and going for a 1 hour walk is a lot more challenging than a 7 a.m. walk in summer in Auckland. And truly in Arrowtown, when we're down there, I almost have to wait until about 10:30 a.m. to even want to go outside. And even then, you have to rug up and really sort of get yourself motivated. When you drive around the streets in the morning, no one is on the streets at all until 10:30. So, and if you're working during the day, that means that your morning opportunity, unless you've got an indoor treadmill or a gym membership, your morning opportunity to go out and move your body, which boosts mood, exercise for your physical body, but also we know that exercise hugely impacts our mood. That ability is gone just because of the reduced sunlight hours. We also know that vitamin D plays a huge status in our immunity. We know that during COVID, for example, the only people who died from COVID were those who had very, very low vitamin D levels. And so in hindsight, post-COVID, one potential solution to that experience could have actually been to focusing on increasing vitamin D levels in the population. There were no deaths in any individual where vitamin D status was 75 and above. So we get less vitamin D. We're spending more time indoors. We have less exercise, less movement, less natural light exposure. Also impacts our sleep. Our sleep and our melatonin production is directly related to how much light exposure we get, particularly in the morning. So this impacts our sleep. And more seasonal illnesses are floating around, but because everyone's slightly less resilient for all of the aforementioned reasons, it's not necessarily it's not the fact that there is just suddenly more flus over winter. It's that because of this lower resilience across the board, these colds and flus viruses are passed from person to person to person much more, increasing susceptibility to infection for us as a community. So rather than waiting until we are unwell, and please, if you do, as I mentioned, if you have questions around all these topics, please ask them in the chat because I'll make sure that I answer them. Rather than wait until we are unwell, what we can do is get ourselves ready now before it really hits, and support these systems proactively so we stay more resilient through winter. So we've whittled it down into these 5 pillars of winter wellness. You can see them there. You can take a screenshot if you like. Nervous system support. A regulated nervous system is the foundation for resilience, helping the body better manage stress, immunity, sleep, and overall well-being. We all know this to be true. When you are more stressed, you are more likely to catch a cold. It's as simple as that. We're going to talk about rest and recovery, about how deep restorative sleep gives our body the space to repair and recover and stay strong during the colder months. We also know that if you are not sleeping very much, if your sleep is poor, your risk of catching a flu, a virus, increases. Metabolism also has issues over winter, and we know that we need a little bit more support around blood sugar balance, digestion, and metabolism, also to keep our energy levels nice and strong. And winter, for all these reasons, lower vitamin D, lower sunlight, less movement, impacts our ability to focus and feel energized. So we're going to give you some tips for how to improve focus, clarity, and productivity. And throughout this, we're going to be leaning on essential oils. Now, why are we using essential oils? And why are we using something else? Well, absolutely, we want to be using our diet and our nutrition, and I talk a lot about this on in my regular day-to-day job around how you can support your nutrition. And so if you're looking for healthy, easy recipes, you can always find those on my website. Certainly your nutrition is going to play 80% of a part in your health. And it's really, really important that you get that right. But because of how our food supply is, we aren't able to get all of the nutrients from our foods. Our ability to absorb nutrients declines as we age, and we might just be low in various elements because of previous illness or just because of our age. So this is where we want to lean on the more heavy-duty version of food, which is plant medicine. So we can extract essential oils, we can extract tinctures from plants, we can even just have a herbal tea, all from plants, and it's going to be even stronger than the Föhn version. So everyone knows that I've got a cat trying to climb into a box behind me, distracting me. So everyone, staying warm for winter. So everyone knows that we will eat, in order to get more antioxidants, that you eat blueberries, right? Really high in antioxidants. But if we want to supercharge our antioxidants, we can extract compounds from plants, which are going to be even higher again. So when we think of the world of herbal medicine, plant medicine, so that's the level above food, using food as medicine, we're now using concentrated food as medicine. We can have a herbal tea. It's the weakest form of herbal medicine. We can make a tincture or buy a tincture from a kiwi herb or a Haka Herbals. And that is a stronger form of herbal medicine. Or we can extract the essential oil from the plant. It's the immune system of the plant, the strongest part of the plant, and that is the strongest form of herbal medicine. So when I'm wanting to support your nervous system, yes, you can have some chocolate because it contains magnesium and it's going to calm you down. But if we really, really, really want to support the nervous system, then we're going to go heavy duty and use our strongest plant medicine, which is our essential oils. So during winter, people often feel more overwhelmed, more mentally exhausted, wired but tired, and more emotionally reactive. I know this is true for myself. Reduced sunlight has been linked to increased stress levels, low mood, and seasonal affective disorder. Has anyone heard of seasonal affective disorder? So even if you haven't been diagnosed specifically with seasonal affective disorder, the reasons behind it affect all of us. So it's a type of depression that can affect between 5 and 10% of people in winter. And as I said, even if you are not specifically diagnosed with SAD, you are probably experiencing some minor levels of this issue. When our stress is chronically elevated, so that means elevated for long periods of time because no sun, no movement, indoors, cortisol remains higher for longer periods. And research shows that when our cortisol is high, lots of things happen. It suppresses our immune function. It reduces our body's ability to recover, to stay resilient. It increases our body's desire to hold on to fat rather than utilize fat and burn it for energy. And therefore, we feel more fatigued. Instead of feeling energized and lean, we feel fatigued and fat, is how I often say it, just in a blunt way. It's basically our food. Instead of it being converted to energy, and so that we feel lean and energized, it gets converted to fat and we feel fatigued and fat. So this is why we want to always make sure that those conversion pathways are operating at their best. We want to make sure we keep a little cap on cortisol and only let it go up during when it's meant to, which is during the daytime. So a few supports that we're going to talk about that I'm going to share with you. There's a couple of blends that are in this particular seasonal wellness box that doTERRA has this week. One of them is called Simplicity. So it's here. It was actually developed, the original name of it was Hygge. I don't know if anyone speaks Danish, probably not. I happen to, strangely enough. Anyway, when this blend got released and it was called Hygge, I was really excited because it had a Danish name. No one can say Hygge, Hygge, and so they decided to change the name to Simplicity. But hygge is a concept and it's a word in Denmark which is used to mean cozy. It's not quite cozy, it's something else. They use it to describe a friendship, a food, a feeling, a cafe. All of these things can be so hyggeligt. Oh, it was so hyggeligt, it was so cozy. And so this blend is all about calming the nervous system and lowering cortisol. It includes things like lavender, cedarwood, and frankincense with tonka bean and vanilla. It is absolutely stunning. And it's the type of oil that you want to start using after 5 p.m. to start to calm the nervous system and reduce your levels of cortisol. So we should all be sniffing this right now. The next oil I'm going to talk about is another blend. It's called Northern Escape. Again, it's in this seasonal wellness box this week. It's a forest bathing blend. Have any of you heard about forest bathing and read the research around forest bathing? Anyone in the chat? Yes. So forest bathing is a concept out of Japan. So here we go. We've gone from Denmark to Japan, and it is supported by research. How do you feel when you go for a walk in a forest? How does anyone feel? When you're going for a walk in the forest, how do you feel? More stressed? Less stressed? Drop a comment, drop any thoughts in a comment about how walking in a forest makes you feel. So for walking in a forest should make you feel really calm and relaxed. And a lot of that is because of the fresh air. It's because of the compounds coming off the trees, the oxygen, but in particular, it's some of those components, the essential oils coming off the plants around you. Zen and puffed, grounded, calm, peaceful, relaxed, peaceful, refreshed. Absolutely. So forest bathing is prescribed in Japan for stress. Go have a walk in the forest. Now, of course, if you live in the middle of suburbia like me, you can't go for a walk in the forest at 2:30 p.m. when you're frantically trying to finish your work before school pick up, or at 6:30 p.m. when you're frantically trying to finish your work so that you can have dinner on time. So what you can do, though, is recreate that with an essential oil. And so Northern Escape is like forest bathing in a bottle. If any of you have tried a blend called Shinrin Yoku, it's quite similar, but with a northern type feel, a Danish type feel. It's got Siberian fir, cedarwood, and some citrus oils, so very different to Simplicity, but also shown to lower cortisol levels and stress. And we're just in the chat there. Yes, the research on Shinrin Yoku and testing the chemical components in the air, which can also be found in the essential oil. So those chemical components found in the air of a forest can be found in these oil blends. So when you're sitting in the middle of suburbia, you can use this type of oil to reduce your cortisol levels. And then finally, copaiba oil. Has anyone heard of copaiba? Copaiba? Yes, no? Let me know if you have. So copaiba is like an alternative, like a cousin to CBD oil. So it supports the endocannabinoid system, actually interacts with our endocannabinoid system, which is deeply interconnected with our mood, stress, anxiety levels, as well as pain. So it regulates mood, stress, mood, inflammation, and as well as sleep. Copaiba contains beta-caryophyllene. So it's a compound studied for its calming effects via our CB2 receptor pathways, and it's linked to nervous system balance. So this compound copaiba, it's a lot cheaper than CBD oil. You can also get it without having to go through a GP prescription, and it doesn't contain any of the hallucinogenic effects, or potential hallucinogenic effects that something like THC would contain, but it can be used in a very similar way for stress, sleep, inflammation, and pain. So here we're talking about using those copaiba soft gels internally for calm and relaxation, but I also use them with clients for sleep. These have actually been approved by the TGA, Therapeutic Goods, through the Therapeutic Goods Act in Australia, and for internal use. So if you've ever wondered, oh, but can I take internal essential oils internally? You may have read or heard that maybe it's not a good idea to take essential oils internally. It really comes down to the oil in mention and the quality of the oil. These soft gels, as I said, have been approved as a medicine in Australia for internal use. So, and they contain copaiba essential oil. So a simple daily routine that you can use for nervous system support is taking a copaiba soft gel in the morning, one in the morning, one at night. If you particularly suffer with stress, you might take both of them at night. If you really suffer just more with stress during the day, you could take both of them in the morning. You want to diffuse either of these two blends, Simplicity or Northern Escape. I wouldn't blend them together because they're quite unique. In the afternoon before stress hits, and particularly after 5 p.m. to wind down. We have one of our colleagues who calls these the 5 p.m. oils, and I actually love that. I just had the cat bottles open, and in all honesty, I was feeling a little bit stressed before this presentation because I've had a full-on day and I have two babies screaming in the background. And just having these open the last few minutes with you, it's either the oils or it's you looking at your faces, but I'm feeling much more calm. So thank you for being here, and thank you, oils. So diffusing those in the afternoon, or just keeping the tops off the bottles and putting them in front of you. You can also make these up into topical rollers, one for each, in a 10 ml roller, and apply them to your wrists and neck as a calming perfume. Quita said she loves copaiba, been using in the touch form for a cold this week on her throat because it helps with clogged mucus. Yes, so copaiba actually has some additional, it's kind of a magic catch-all. It's not only good for the nervous system and sleep, it's got immune benefits as well. Next pillar of winter wellness is sleep. For those of you who know me, you know I absolutely love this topic. This one and stress, probably my favorite too, probably because they're the two things that I think I struggle with the most. And sleep gets impacted over winter. Why is that? We've mentioned it before. Because we have less daylight, one of the most important things for your sleep is you getting light on your eyeballs in the morning, first thing in the morning. So the best thing to actually help you sleep, one of the best things you can do completely free, is to get up in the morning and walk outside. Just go outside on the front deck or out on, just pace around on the pathway when you first get up, and then come back and do the rest of your morning routine. That actually triggers that light in the eyes in the morning, triggers melatonin production in the evening. So if you don't get that, if you sleep in, if you've had a late night, been out till 3 a.m., it doesn't really happen for me very much anymore, but I remember back in the day, I'd go out on the town, having drinks, get back, jump into bed at 3:30. It was like quite common. And I just would close all the windows and put an eye mask on and sleep until midday, because you could do that. You didn't have kids. So I would sleep until midday. And of course, I wouldn't get light on my eyeballs until midday. And then it was always hard to get to sleep that night. And I never realized that at the time, but this is actually, light in the eyes in the morning triggers that sleep, that melatonin production later in the night. So this is the key reason why sleep actually becomes more difficult over winter. We might have trouble falling asleep. We might have a lighter, less restorative sleep. And as a result, waking up tired, despite having a full night in bed. I know, have any of you had the experience where you've been in bed for 8-9 hours? You're like, oh my gosh, I just had 9 hours sleep last night and I've still woken up feeling really exhausted. Has anyone experienced that? So what's happening there is you're getting the length. You're getting the length, okay? You're just not getting the depth. And we actually did a whole masterclass on deep sleep. Highly recommend if you struggle with sleep, you go and watch it. It's very good. Don't mind saying myself, I think it was very good. And we talk a lot about the sleep cycles and how you can deepen those sleep cycles. So poor sleep overall can also impact everything the next day: energy, mood, focus, and our immune resilience. Did you know that one night of 4 hours sleep, last night I actually got only 5 because my beautiful 2-year-olds woke up and decided to have a dance party in our bed for 2 hours. So I got 5 hours sleep. So one night of 4 hours sleep, this is me today, has resulted in a 70% reduction in my immune system's natural killer cells. So it's very lucky, actually, that I've been locked in my office all day long, because if I was out on the street or at a shopping mall, I probably would have soaked up a flu from someone else. So that's how much a poor sleep can actually impact our immune system and allow us to be exposed to getting sick. Maddie asked, how long do we need light on the eyes in the morning to be effective for impacting sleep? The same principle does apply for little ones. Yes, it does. And I would say around 10 minutes. So sort of 5-10 minutes. Doesn't actually have to be long. Doesn't have to be half an hour. 5-10 minutes just outside. Or, go grab yourself a cup of tea and just stand on the back deck and have your cup of tea in the morning, or your lemon water type thing. Is a nice thing to do. I've been known to be seen on our street in my PJs, just traipsing back and forth in front of our house because with the kids are inside, so I can't actually like officially legally leave the house, but I want to get the sunlight in my eyes, so I just go out the front and traipse back and forth. Actually had someone said to me, oh, you're the lady that walks up and down like on calls in her pajamas. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Okay, couple of oils you can use. Vetiver, one of the most researched oils for sleep and the nervous system regulation after lavender. It's very deep, very earthy, rich in sesquiterpenes. It's very thick. So if you see this here, and if you see this, it is like, I can hold this up and not even worry about my pink dress, because here it goes, there it comes. Can you see this? There's the drop. So that's how long it takes. It's nicknamed the horse tranquilizer due to its deeply calming properties. I've just put it in my mouth because yes, we can take it internal. We can take it internally. And I'm going to double down with valerian. This is nature's Valium. This is crazy. Valerian became widely used during World War II in the UK as a natural sedative to support stress, anxiety, and insomnia during the bombing raids when pharmaceuticals were limited. It was thought as a cheap man's version of conventional medicine for insomnia. It supports GABA activity in the brain, and that helps calm our nervous system and support faster sleep onset. So this one also you can actually take in the mouth. So you can take a drop, put it in the roof of your mouth like that. It's an evening presentation, right? So I do want to sleep after this. I'm going to take that. I've just had 2 drops of that and some vetiver. Feeling good. Also really good for ADHD brains or busy minds, both of these 2 oils, not just for sleep. So what is a daily routine you can use here? I've got Marie at Life Savvy with her beautiful profile photo smiling at me during this presentation, which is lovely. Okay, daily routine. So you can put vetiver and valerian in the diffuser with lavender, or there's another blend that we love called Lavender Peace, 45 minutes before bed. Or if you've just got vetiver and valerian, you could put just those 2 in the diffuser. Quite earthy, both of the 2, but I mean, I've just had the 2 of them in my mouth and actually quite delicious. You can apply vetiver, the big thick one, to the big toe before bed. You could take a drop of vetiver under the tongue like I just did. You can add, this is a fun one, you can add a drop of valerian to a sleepy hot chocolate. I'm going to do this straight after this presentation, and I've also put a little recipe in the back of this presentation so you can make your own sleepy hot chocolates. Has anyone seen the increase in sleepy hot chocks at the supermarket, at the store? Don't worry, I'm very far from going to sleep. Thank you, Mon. Don't go falling asleep on us. Has anyone seen those sleepy chocks in the store? Anyone seen them? They've actually started to crop up, a few different brands doing them. So you can make your own, and I'm going to show you exactly how. You can also make up a topical roller with your vetiver, with your valerian, add in some lavender if you've got it, add in some frankincense if you've got it, and apply it to your wrists and neck before bed. The next pillar of winter wellness is supporting our focus and energy, which lulls, which drops. Is anyone feeling this over winter, that they feel a little bit more flat and it's a little more difficult to focus? This is very common. Reduced mental clarity starts to drop. We have reduced motivation to start or complete tasks. It's completion. Completion is a big issue for humans, especially in this day and age when we are constantly interrupted. It reduces our ability to complete tasks, and we actually, as human beings, are completionists. We get a kick out of, we get a dopamine hit from completing, and when we are constantly interrupted and we don't get to be completionists, that drops our mood. Isn't that crazy? So next time you're multitasking, you've got your phone on and people are texting you saying, can you do this, can you do this? Turn your phone off, put it on flight mode so that you can be a completionist and get a free dopamine hit and feel good. Give that a try. That one's free. Okay, lower vitamin D levels and reduced light, again, impact our motivation, concentration, mental clarity, which just makes everything feel harder. So we can use plants to help us focus. Did you know that small herb plants, small leaf herbs, so herbs that have small leaves, are designed to help the brain focus, or they help the brain focus. So have a think of what are some little herbs in your garden right now that have a small leaf. Chuck a few names in the chat. Herbs in your garden that have a small leaf. Throw a few in there and we'll see if we land it. Supermint, while you're doing that though, is a high menthol therapeutic blend with peppermint, Japanese mint, and some other mint species. It's really cooling. It can help open the sinuses, so it's really good for the respiratory tract. Also really good for digestion. Incredibly effective for headaches. Actually, some people find it more effective than peppermint, and helps us to feel alert. It also is incredible for sugar cravings. So we've got a few herbs there: thyme, oregano, rosemary. Yes, and then I just dropped one in the. I just mentioned one in the Supermint blend. So all of those, including peppermint, help us to focus, help our brain to focus. So if it's a small herb like peppermint and rosemary, and in fact, peppermint and rosemary are two of the herbs that have the most studies on them around enhancing focus. Sugar cravings as well, Supermint is really great for sugar cravings, and I'll show you how you can do that in a second. Spanish sage is a plant that I'm imagining none of you have used. Does anyone use Spanish sage before? Does anyone cook with sage? I feel like the only recipe I know how to use sage is pork steaks with a sage butter. Can anyone help me out here? Or a pasta with a sage butter? Anyone else know how to use sage? I'm not a big roast gal, and therefore I don't know how to use my sage. So it just goes to waste in the garden. Anyway, Spanish sage, it shall be. So Spanish sage is one of the top oils plants to support cognitive clarity, focus, and memory. It has got some compounds in there, such as cineol, which are associated with mental alertness, and it's also an ethical, sustainable alternative to Palo Santo. Does anyone use Palo Santo around the house? Or does anyone have a crazy hippie friend that uses Palo Santo? No? Anyone use Palo Santo? I do have some ideas, though, for my my sage, pork belly, and roast turkey. Yeah, it's all about the roasts, right? Well, if you can't be bothered doing a roast, you can just crack open a bottle of Spanish sage and inhale that for focus for the brain. So how can you use these two blends? You can diffuse them actually together. I've been diffusing the two of these during the day. Beautiful blend. So you've got Supermint, which is your mint combination, and then sage, especially when you go into those deep focus blocks, when you're turning your phone on flight and you're being a completionist, right? So be a completionist with your Supermint and Spanish sage. I also really love listening to some focus music, instrumental focus music. You can find playlists on Spotify like ADHD Focus or binaural beats, which will actually help focus your mind as well. So that's a new type of music therapy, not just essential oil therapy. You can also make up a topical roller with your Spanish sage and Supermint together and apply it during your rest during the day. But 9 till 3, you know how we said the other oils were our 5 p.m. oils? These two are your 9 till 3 oils. Any questions on our small herbs? And we do have some more recipes coming in though. We've got a sage Lincolnshire sausage or a haslet coming direct from the UK from Nigel. Thank you very much. And we also have sage and stews, pasta bolognese, roast. Lots of uses for your sage. Hopefully you've all eaten dinner and it's not making you hungry. Moving on to immune resilience. So of course you knew we were going to be talking about immunity because it's winter, right? This is what you came here for, actually the immune support. For all of the aforementioned reasons that I said, we catch colds and flus more frequently. Our resilience is lower because of all the previous reasons. So if we're in a room with 100 people and everyone's resilience is lower and one person catches the cold and the next one therefore does, we're more likely to catch it. So this is why they pass a lot more regularly in the winter months. And they get brought in from overseas and then pass around more regularly. We are more, we take a longer time to recover from illness, and we more often than not feel more run down or depleted overall. So when in the colder months, studies have shown that there is up to a 30% higher incidence of colds and flus because of this reduced resilience. So we can boost our resilience by focusing on the other pillars of wellness first, right? And do you notice that we talked about this last? We've talked about the other ones first because we want you to boost those other pillars first, so that you are resilient and more and less likely to catch a cold or a flu. However, here are some specific plant oils, plant blends that you can use to support the immunity specifically. So the first one is oregano. This is nature's antibiotic. It has been shown to kill staph infection on a petri dish. We have that evidence on that. I've also used this topically on staph infections on my daughter, and if I can get it up her nose, because it's a little bit stinky, if I can get it up her nose, I usually do it when she's asleep, so that when she starts wriggling and going, hey, stop it, I can run out of the room. but it's incredibly effective for staph infections. Make sure it's diluted. Now, why have we got this as a diluted topical roller rather than just the pure oil? Any ideas? Any ideas? Why would we have this diluted? But it's a very potent, and while you're sharing your ideas in the chat, and Sonia's nailed it, it is a hot oil, very, very spicy. Do not put undiluted oregano oil on the skin anywhere. You'll pay the price. It'll be bright red, itchy, and very uncomfortable. If you do that, put some carrier oil on top rather than water, carrier oil on top to try and basically dilute it out. But this is pre-diluted with a carrier oil already specifically for that reason. This is what you want to use for short-term immune support because of its really strong antimicrobial properties. So this is not an everyday oil. This is the one you have there sitting in your little support kit, and you bring out when you get sick, when you feel that cold coming on, or when there's a cold in the house, in the family, and you want to avoid it. So typically I recommend using this for sort of 5 to 7 days, like a course of antibiotics. Then we also have Stronger. It's in the picture there. I don't have it because it's in the twins' room because I'm using this on the daily with my 2-year-old twins at the moment. It is a gentle preventative immune blend. It's the one in the red there, and it includes things like frankincense and rose, as well as citrus oils. This one you can use daily. So this is your proactive daily support that you're going to apply to your lymph nodes, right down the spine. I'm going to put it all over the boys like this. They're like, all down the spine. You can also put it on the soles of their feet before bed, or your feet before bed. So this one's safe for kids and adults, and it's going to absorb into the thick skin of the feet and actually have a systemic effect through the entire body overnight. How good is that? Put it on your feet, put your socks on, and let it do the work overnight and absorb into the body. We know that what we put on our skin, 80% of what we put on our skin absorbs into the bloodstream within 2 minutes, and then it will be circulating through your bloodstream to boost your immune system. Incredible. So this one's designed for daily use, before school, before travel, before work. And then you're going to bring out your oregano roller as your 5 to 7 day antibiotic when you feel that you're actually getting sick. So daily routine that you can use here, apply oregano to the soles of your feet at night. As I said, it absorbs through the thick skin. You can also apply oregano down the spine, only when it's in a diluted form, down the spine and lymph nodes behind the ears. This is for adults only. This roller is a little too strong for the kiddies. Their skin is, and also elderly, their skin is just a little too sensitive. I have tested this on my own children, poor little guinea pigs. Down the spine, itchy, mummy. So not on the kids of the skin. For the kids, just soles of feet. But for you can put a little bit here and down the spine. If you have very sensitive skin, you might find your skin will be like a child's, and you might find that itchy. So I do have some clients that find that a little bit itchy here, but it works fine for me. We're really wanting to put it here because it's nice and thin, so it's going to absorb into those lymph nodes really quickly. So Stronger and oregano, both of the soles of the feet, and as I said, lymph nodes, wrists, neck, like this, before school to prevent colds and flus. Wendy said should be used in children over 2 years old, exactly, for oregano, the oregano touch, I think Wendy means there. Emma's asked, I have oregano in my flume roller. Is that okay to use daily? Yes, Emma, I would say it absolutely is, and that's actually a great question because we do recommend you guys put it in a flume roller. Flume stands for frankincense, lemon, oregano, on guard, and melaleuca or tea tree, so flume or flute roller, and it's a daily preventative immune roller. Because the oregano is such a small component in that, it's okay for daily use. It's not the reason that we say only use oregano for 5 to 7 days is not because you're going to have a negative side effect from using it for longer. It's just that you don't really need it. I mean, it stinks. Like the oregano roller, did you notice it's the only one that I didn't take the cap off and do a little self-application? Because this is not necessarily like the prettiest perfume. I will do it now, though, just for you. So I don't really want to smell like an oregano bush on the daily, so I'm really only going to use this when I need to, which is when I really feel like I'm getting sick. So that's what, and it's so powerful and potent that you only need to use it in that strong form for 5 to 7 days, but a little bit in your flume roller is absolutely fine. And Wendy's just asked Emma, though, share in the chat how many drops you're using in your flume roller, but a couple of drops should be fine. Can you use oregano for an itchy skin rash? No, I would not. For itchy skin rash, I would be using more calming oils, things like lavender, Roman chamomile, frankincense, helichrysum. This one's a really, really hot oil. And Wendy just said, if you are using Palo Santo, just make sure that it's sustainably sourced, by the way, Spanish sage. And Wendy, you might like to share in the chat how you use Palo Santo or what people use Palo Santo for. And finally, metabolism. This is our last pillar. Who has noticed, and you could be asking for a friend here, who has noticed that a friend seems to put on weight in winter? Anyone? You can share in the chat, for a friend, if you're feeling brave. In winter, a lot of people notice a shift in their appetite. And we have some brave people saying, yes, 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 yes. So many people notice shifts in their appetite, in their energy, in their weight. Why is this? Why am I craving more chocolate? Why am I eating more? So when it's cooler, because of all these aforementioned benefits, can you see how they all operate in a circle? Can you see why we drew that Venn diagram at the beginning? Because they're all interlinked. Our body is a holistic beast. One pillar doesn't operate on its own. Our weight doesn't operate on its own. It's intimately affected by our sleep, our stress, our energy, our immunity, and likewise they affect each other. So we have increased cravings for sugar and refined carbohydrates. Not regular carbohydrates are great, but hyper refined carbohydrates. We have more energy crashes, the unstable hunger. Our blood sugars are more unstable, and we often experience gradual weight gain or a sluggish metabolism. So seasonal weight gain, it is a thing, same as our seasonal disorder, affective disorder, on average is around 0.5 to 1.5 kilos for an average person. And I did actually look up the research on this. So on average, people gain between 0.5 and 1.5 kilos over winter. It affects many people, and it's linked to us having less activity, increased cravings, and knock-on effects from these other pillars. Also, if we are highly stressed, we have high levels of cortisol, our sleep is bad, this can disrupt our blood sugar regulation. Now, why do we want our blood sugars to be stable? What we don't want, has anyone seen people wearing the little monitors on their arm? So there's a little bit of a craze in the health circles at the moment of people wearing blood sugar monitors on their arm and then monitoring it on a little device and wanting that blood sugar level to be flat. Well, that is completely unnatural, and our blood sugars were never designed to be flat. Our blood sugars are designed to consume food, our insulin responds, and our blood sugars increase. And then they go back down again. They go back down, we're a bit hungry, and then they come back up. So our blood sugars are meant to be a nice, gentle wave. They're not meant to be flat. So let me just get that clear. What we don't want, though, is this kind of spike, up and down, up and down. When we have those type of sugar spikes, it increases inflammation in the body, increases oxidative stress, leads to accelerated aging. So purely from a self-interested aesthetic perspective, I'm now slightly more interested in my blood sugars than I was 10 years ago because it leads to accelerated aging. So we want, instead of these big spikes, we want nice, slow waves. Research has shown that there are a few key herbs that can help us to balance our blood sugars. So this particular blend here, it comes in a capsule. It's designed for internal use. It's called Metaparasist, and it's lovingly referred to as the carb blocker or nature's metformin. Does anyone know what metformin is? Anyone taking metformin? I know a lot of my clients are taking metformin. It's used, commonly prescribed to balance blood sugars. It's also used in infertility, but it's mostly around blood sugar management. So the two key herbs in this, mulberry leaf and berberine, act as a natural metformin. So they help to balance our blood sugars after a meal. There are also some essential oils in here: ginger, cinnamon, peppermint, lemon. These also help to balance blood sugars after a meal. So what happens is when we take one of these capsules with these little herbs in it, if you had a mulberry leaf or a berberine plant out the back, you could do something similar. We take it prior to a meal, and when we consume our food, it helps to soften our blood sugar response. So we don't get that accelerate, break kind of response, which leads to inflammation, oxidative stress, and aging. And research has shown that berberine in particular can improve insulin sensitivity by up to 45%. So it's hugely effective. So if you suffer from pre-diabetes, high HbA1c levels on your blood tests, PCOS, or even if you just get that really flat 3 p.m. slump after lunch and you feel like you need to go to lie down on the couch, you might need some blood sugar management support. I also would recommend steering away from sugars and hyper-processed foods. So sugars and hyper-processed foods also going to trigger a spiky blood sugars and hyper-refined carbohydrates. So carbohydrates like kumara and potato and brown rice are great. What we're wanting to avoid are the carbohydrates like the hyper-processed muffins and biscuits and cookies and the fun things, all the fun ones that get brought to the morning tea shouts, right? All of those, all the stuff in the morning tea shout, unfortunately, is typically hyper-processed carbohydrates and sugar in one, which is why you have it and you want to go lie down on the couch at work. Okay, so a daily routine here, and I've also mentioned Lifelong Vitality, which is a wonderful foundational health product that I use and I recommend for a lot of my clients. I've used this for about 5 years. It's a combination that includes vitamins, minerals, coenzymes, omegas, and antioxidants needed for optimal physiological function. It's not a replacement for a good diet. So make sure you go to my website and check out my healthy recipes. There's a bunch of other of the ladies in our team who create fabulous recipes as well. Jo from the Holistic Fountain, Courtney, who's a nutritionist too. Gemma is a nutritionist. So make sure you are consuming a healthy diet, because these are designed to supplement your healthy diet, not to replace. They're designed to just pop up the little bars that are still a little low so that everything is in the green, so that now your body can operate optimally. That is going to help your metabolism just as a base case scenario. Then if you're still having difficulties with blood sugar, you might find a mulberry leaf berberine blend with cinnamon, ginger, etc. that are beneficial to balance your blood sugars. So how do you use it? You take one of these capsules 20 minutes before your largest meal of the day to help stabilize your blood sugars, increase energy conversion, and reduce fat storage and reduce that postprandial sugar slump. So remember at the beginning I said when you eat food, it can go down the energy pathway, get converted to energy and you're energized and lean, or it gets converted to the fat pathway and you're fatigued and fat. This is trying to move you down the energy and lean pathway rather than being stored like a nice cozy bear who's Hugelit in Denmark and cozying up for winter and gaining an extra layer for winter. Recipes. Here is your sleepy hot chocolate. This one's for you. Take a screenshot of this. We are going to share the slides afterwards. Design this one just for you, ladies and gents. So a tablespoon of cacao powder. You can use cocoa powder, Dutch cocoa powder if you don't have raw cacao powder. You can put a teaspoon of reishi mushroom in there, really beautiful calming mushroom if you have it. If you don't have it, don't worry. A teaspoon of monk fruit or your preferred sweetener. You might like stevia, you might like coconut sugar, you might like honey. I really love monk fruit and stevia. I know some of the girls like xylitol. So some sort of sweetener in there. A drop of your valerian oil. And then 1 cup of warm, your preference of milk, soy, oat, or almond. You also could do this with half a cup of water, half a cup of milk would still be delicious. Mixing them together and then adding on the hot milk. You can also add other things to this. You can add, if you have other fancy things like magnesium powder, passion flower powder, that type of thing, you could add those too, but that base recipe is delicious. Friends, I'm going to be making this right after this presentation, the sleepy hot chocolate, so I hope you will join me. And then we've got a gorgeous focus roller and some calming bath salts recipe there. So screenshot those. We've got another page here of diffuser blends. I wrote these up with Wendy, our qualified aromatherapist who is in the Wellness Collective, and really just enjoyed writing these up and smelling these this afternoon. Simplicity, Northern Escape, and Vetiver in the afternoon to relax into the evening. We've got a sleep recipe with Simplicity, Valerian, and Vetiver, of course. And then we have a crisp morning air with Northern Escape, Supermint, and Vetiver. Help us focus, help those ADHD monkey brains. Crisp morning air. Hope you will try these out. Absolutely stunning. And then finally, how can you join our community? I am so proud and honored to manage the Wellness Collective, whatever you want to call it. I'm so proud to be joined by such an incredible group of women and men who are passionate about natural health, who are practitioners, who have such incredible experience in the realm of natural health. They are integrative health practitioners, naturopaths, kinesiologists, massage therapists, holistic vets, and more. The vetiver is obviously kicking in. And it's such an honor to work with our team. We have joined together as a collective holistic practice think of us as your collective holistic practice, but online. And we have chosen to partner with doTERRA, who are a natural health company that many of us have worked with for many years, because they are as passionate about supporting your health as we are. And they enable us to create our community and offer all of our support for you free. And that's why we have chosen to partner with them. It is such a wonderful partnership collaboration that we have with doTERRA, and we're so proud to partner with them. So if you would like to be a part of our community and come to more masterclasses like this, get the personal support of people like myself, and many of the ladies who and men who you've seen in the chat this evening, and some of them you can see on the screen there, then all you have to do is purchase a set of products. So the one that is on offer this week, which I highly recommend you getting because it is such an insane deal. So normally these 10 products would be $715 New Zealand as a box this week. So starting today, they are just $231. It's ridiculous. On average, these products would be $71 each retail on the doTERRA website. You can go to the doTERRA website, add them all up, $715. People buy them on the doTERRA website every single day. This week, you can get them for $23 each. It is insane. So you're basically paying for 4, you're getting 6 free. But in addition to that, you get a complimentary membership in our community, the Wellness Collective. You just need to scan that QR code on the screen if you're not already a member of our community, and it will take you straight through to where you can buy that particular box. You also get a free wholesale customer account with doTERRA, gives you 25% off retail for a whole year. You can get up to 30% back on any additional orders that you decide to make, any additional purchases you decide to make. You get a complimentary wellness consultation, follow-up, and ongoing support from one of our practitioner team. And you get access to online and in-person masterclasses, programs, and hands-on workshops to support you, to teach you how to support you and your family's health naturally. I am so proud of what we have created and what we are creating in the Wellness Collective. As you can hear, I keep going on about it, so I am going to stop now. But our mission is that we believe every woman and man and child deserves to, I always get teary at this bit, which is so silly, but deserves to feel informed and in control and excited about your health, about every day, no matter what your age. And our mission is to empower you and your family with trusted knowledge and practical tools, rooted in science, rooted in both science and nature. Yes, they can go together. We love pairing them together so that you can thrive with vitality and confidence at every stage. And then if you are part of our community or decide to join us, you can grab that second QR code on the bottom right, and that will take you to our private Facebook page and our private Instagram. That is all we have for you this evening. Wendy has asked in the chat what daily ritual you are going to implement this week. Would you be so kind as to share one thing from this evening that you're going to do? One thing, not 10. One thing you're going to do differently this week to support your health so you stay healthy, strong, and full of vitality this winter. Please share in the chat. Use more vetiver. And we did have one other question. Can you substitute valerian for something else in the sleepy chop? Wendy's answer that lavender is stunning, absolutely. And the lavender in the hot chop, you could, if it's nice and diluted, then kids could have that too. As long as you can add your oils to your hot chocolate, as long as it's got some sort of fatty base, which is your milk, that means it will disperse. If you just add lavender to your water, it's going to a little bit sit on the top. So we've got a few things here. Use more vetiver. Using the stronger blend, early morning light on the eyeballs, open her eyes every morning on the deck, go outside when she wakes up in the morning. Such a great tip. And then just other lovely comments saying that you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so much. That is the end of our presentation, and we will stay here for questions afterwards if you would like.